Okay. Right. There's a woman who looks like she's not praying. Oh, it's on a phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello.
So,
Hello.
hi.
Yeah.
Hi again. Shall we talk about Skinner a little bit?
Yeah. I've just taught Skinner and
So another controversial psychologist.
very controversial.
In some ways maybe more controversial than Freud, because Freud, people sometimes resist the stuff on sexuality and aggression and so on, but Freud at least gave people an inner life.
Yeah.
Whereas Skinner sort of strips
nothing.
you of all of that.
No, forget about this mentalistic explanations of everything is learned, is reinforced by the environment. You operate on the environment, you behave, and you get rewarded, right?
Yeah. To sort of link back to the first, is it chapter 2 or chapter 1? The stuff on personism and situationism.
Yeah.
So Skinner would be a radical version of a
situation.
Yeah. The situation, the environment is everything, and there's nothing more to us than how we are sort of produced by.
By the way, you are a language person, a discourse person. So although Skinner doesn't talk a lot about language as in that way, but you are in the school as we construct stuff, right? And language is part of the construction. So you might be friends with Skinner.
It's interesting. I always think that Skinner is there's something about him, this kind of focus on the surface and the fact that humans are constructed, by the environment, which but of course he wanted to be a scientist, and he created behavioral science, and in that sense it seems like he's very far removed from constructionism, postmodernism and so on. But there is a link there.
Oh, there's a link. Remember,
there's
a failed writer, right?
Yeah.
He was trying to write poetry, write some short stories, and it didn't work out. But
but there's a certain this focus on the surface,
surface.
And on the radical way in which we do not transcend our situation, our environment. There's a link there between him and the constructionists and the sort of postmodernists, which is an interesting link.
Yeah, I know that. I'm sure a number of you will be interested in this. I'm interested. I mean, the book by Skinner on freedom and dignity. I mean, freedom is a big thing for me, for a lot of people, I guess, around the world. The people want to be free, and freedom is something, shall we say, almost natural. I mean, people want autonomy. Skinner says, no, really, don't even talk about freedom. People learn to, are reinforced and learn to be particular kinds of animals. What do you think?
I think Skinner is something to this radical focus on the environment. But I do think, even if he didn't want to theorize an inner life, it's still possible to see human agency and resistance,
Which he didn't. He wouldn't have said it that way, right?
Yeah.
He wouldn't have said agency, but
no.
But that you can change stuff.
Yeah.
You can change the environment.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So the environment, there's always a kind of dialectical process between the environment and us. So even if you do not theorize an inner life, it's not as simple as the environment is simply imprinted on.
But I want an inner life.
No, of course not.
We want an inner life.
But
I want this inner dialogue.
Yeah.
How about we have inner dialogue, no?
Yeah. But there I think someone like Vygotsky is just much more sophisticated than Skinner, because Vygotsky also accentuates the environment, but then he has a much more complicated theory about how the inner is produced.
So read Vygotsky. What's his name? Leo?
Lev or something.
Lev,
He was
not
Russian,
Leo.
a Russian.
Lev Vygotsky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I must read that. This zone of proximal development. I think we spoke about him. Yeah.
And I think it's a much more sophisticated account of environmentalism in some ways.
And I like this idea of, yes, there's an elegance to this thing that you operate on the environment determines what we become, which I, personally I've said a lot of things about that. And then you can change the environment, you change people. But I also like that you internalize this idea of internalizing.
Yep.
Internalizing stuff. That then you have this inner life that you've internalized, from the environment.
Yeah. Because I think that, it is very clear historically, not just individually, but socially, we produce the environments that Skinner talks about.
Yeah.
That's a sort of Marxist point. In some ways, we create the historical world, and then it creates us.
And by the way, when we say environment, we don't talk about the physical infrastructure, we talk about social environment.
Yeah.
We create other people.
We do, and the concepts and everything. So in that sense, there is a sense in which you could say Skinner, that's like a very elegant theory, but he doesn't ask where this environment comes from. And the radical way in which this is in fact a socially produced thing.
Yeah.
A set of circumstances.
I wonder about his politics, whether, that there is another world. Another world is possible, always.
Yeah.
Whether he will be okay, just accept that there is no alternative, Tina, or that there's always another world possible.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that Skinner, because he did buy into an idea of social engineering. So he would say, give me a bunch of babies and I'll create a better world, right?
Yeah.
But it's very much an elitist idea of the scientist or the psychologist authoring the world. There's no space in his theory for humans themselves, autonomously, creatively, through trial and error.
Some words that Skinner would not agree with, creative. And I like that.
Making a world, right?
You create the world.
Yeah, and I guess that's the thing in Vygotsky again. So for Vygotsky, concepts are not just descriptive. We create concepts, and the concepts,
as it were, create us.
Yeah, they make new movements possible.
Shape us.
They shape us. They shape the kind of, not just the kind of things we do or can think, but literally the things we can do.
Right.
In some ways, what we spoke about Freud in the previous video, Freud changed the way we could relate to ourselves by giving us new concepts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know. So that's Skinner. I still think he's an important theorist, not just because he tried to create the scientific psychology.
But also, you know what I think? I like Freud, Skinner. Something that I don't know whether you're able to do it. I can't. They stay on one. In one sense, Skinner says, this is it. I can see all the stuff that you're all doing, but I'm going to tell you about this, and I'm going to write and research and work on it repeatedly. Freud did, this. And some of us, we're going to pick this thing up here, eclectic sort of thought. You have to appreciate this about Skinner, that he just stuck his course.
Absolutely.
Even when it was unpopular. It was popular, but then it became unpopular.
Yeah, that didn't deter him.
No, it didn't.
I think he died in 1990 only.
Yeah.
And throughout the 80s, he kept saying, you guys are wrong.
You're wrong.
Even the cognitive guys said, you're wrong.
And you're wrong.
So that's very impressive in some ways.
So look up Skinner there, and hope you find it as interesting and worth thinking about.
Thanks.
All right, bye-bye.